This story continues from where we left off. Click on the top right icon to watch the first part of this series. The spectators were in awe, as Minjun blew a hole straight into the crystal. A few days later, the new recruits are struggling with their training. For 4 weeks, they need to train carrying sandbags and running up a mountain with stairs that has 6,000 steps. They had to endure it all to raise their stats, leaving them panting and exhausted. Meanwhile, our protagonist Minjun is having the time of his life. In fact, he thinks that this training is sweet compared to the one he had at Isgard. They give out delicious meals, and best of all, he gets free time and sleep. There's also a PC room in the army, which he can use after their schedule is over, and so, he feels like he's in heaven right now. The instructor waited at the top of the mountain, as then, he heard footsteps, as he saw Minjun coming his way. He was surprised that Minjun is already finished, when the average time of completion is supposed to be an hour. Minjun then pestered the instructor about the outing pass that's given to those who finishes in under 30 minutes, which he then gave. The instructor smiled, as no recruit have gotten under 30 minutes before, and thus, Minjun got the instructor's attention. After training, the recruits were ecstatic about their stats raising up by 1. Minjun heard this and was surprised by their slow rate, as in Isgard, he was forced to raise his stats by 10 daily. The next day, they were once again training. The recruits look exhausted. Meanwhile, Minjun looks as if he didn't even break a sweat. As then the lieutenant told them to gather, stating that he's disappointed with their progress and at this rate, they won't survive the dungeon adjustment training. Most dungeons disappear when they are cleared, however, sometimes dungeons still remain, which eventually becomes transforming dungeons, which changes its structure on the regular. These dungeons are great for simulating real training experience, and are used as such by the military. The recruits were scared as they're going out to a dungeon so soon. To console them, the lieutenant proposed that whoever scores the best in the training will receive a vacation for 3 days. But he was met with even more unenthusiasm by the crowd, as Minjun's is the only one happy. At the sight, the recruits wore scared looks as they saw the dungeon entrance. They gossiped. Meanwhile, a military truck suddenly arrived. Minjun peeked at the truck, seeing cages full of monsters. Taking a closer look, it was the monsters called hounds, scaring the recruits. The lieutenant told them to form teams of 4s to go inside the dungeon and defeat these hounds. They were also given heavy armor to defend themselves from the monsters. The armor feels like it's been worn many times, so Minjun asked if he can take the armor off if he can defeat the hounds quickly. The lieutenant says he can, but he states that he can't outperform everyone else, since this is supposed to be a team exercise. Hearing this, he thinks to just tell his teammates how to defeat the hounds quickly. And thus, he told them when the hounds attack, just grab their legs and snap their back, then, fold them up and rip their backs, just like ripping apart kimchi. Seeing this, his teammates were petrified, thinking he's a crazy bastard. As then, the instructors release the hounds. They go straight into the dungeon, ignoring the humans. The recruits chatted why it didn't attack them. The lieutenant saw them chattering, so he decides to send them off first. Minjun accepted quickly, as it means getting these suits off faster. In the dungeon, they are being watched by 2 more instructors to assess their performance. The hounds also watch the recruits in the shadows, as Minjun notices them. The hounds prepared to attack, as Minjun warned his team. As the hounds charged, the recruits were terrified as it relentlessly came forward. Seeing his teammates, Minjun decided to take the lead to face them. He sidestepped, as one of the hounds charged straight at him. He then got ready to punch, as he smacked the hound in the head, killing it in one blow. However, his teammates isn't in the best condition as they were panicked. Coming to rescue, Minjun kicked the hound, defeating another one. With the last hound, Minjun decided to let his teammates get experience, as he instructed them on how to defeat it. After the fight, the instructors showed themselves to lead them to the exit. But then, as they were walking, the dungeon suddenly shook. Minjun knew what's happening, as he told them that the dungeon is transforming at this moment. The recruits were shocked, as the exit portal closes in itself. As the dungeon exit closed, the instructors were also worried, as they lost connection to the outside. There's supposed to be a lot of time left before the dungeon transformed, so they questioned why it's happening now. They evacuated to a safe area, as the instructors comforted the recruits. But Minjun isn't buying it, as this is an unexpected situation. Although this was unexpected, he was confident, as he experienced something similar in Isgard. To not worry the newbies, the instructors talked in private about their situation. This dungeon has transformed to an enclosed dungeon. In this case, the portal closes on both sides, so there's no way for them to receive help from the outside. And now, the only way to get out is for them to defeat every single monster inside. With only 2 instructors, and a bunch of inexperienced recruits, their chances of clearing it are pretty slim. With this, they also informed the recruits on their situation, making them tensed. The instructors didn't have their equipment, so they're basically defenseless. At this rate, if they run into monsters, they're as good as dead. He considers utilizing the recruits' equipment to become bait, but he didn't have it in him to sacrifice them as their senior. As they were walking, Minjun suddenly sensed something. Minjun was surprised, as then, they heard a gasp. Looking around, they saw one of the instructors choking, and then suddenly fainting. The other instructor ran to his rescue, as Minjun tried to stop him. But he didn't heed the warning, as he also fainted. Minjun checked their condition, seeing that they've just fainted, as he smelled something familiar. He then told the others to stand at the exit and not follow him, as he heads deeper in the dungeon. Minjun ran excitedly, as he knows exactly what made those two faint. It was demonic energy that he thought didn't exist on Earth prior. He wasn't surprised that they fainted from the energy, as even Asgardian cast a protection spell before facing monsters with demonic energy. Of course, that doesn't apply to him, as it's the energy he runs off of. The demonic energy got stronger, as he got closer to the source. The monster quietly hid from him, but it reeks of demonic energy, so he was able to spot it quickly. Minjun recognized the monster he's facing right now. It was the Dark Hound, the monster that almost killed him on his first year at Isgard. The Dark Hound charged at him, as he got in a stance. He then proceeded to punch it, sending it back a few meters, and subsequently killing it. As soon as it was defeated, its energy leaked out. If he was an ordinary human, it would be difficult to deal with this amount of energy, but he isn't, as this energy is exactly what fuels him. And we will have to end the recap here. Subscribe so as to not miss out on future recaps, or you can click on the video on your screen to watch the previous recap.